So I am thrilled to be talking to one of our new fellows, Olivia Marrese. I'm very excited to have you here for you to introduce your work, your thoughts, everything about you. So let's start. Tell me your story. How did you end up in conversation design? What brought you here?
Well, thrilled to be here. Thank you for having me. Really excited for this conversation today. If I bring it way back, way before I knew that this was a field at all, or this would be my future career path, I have always been fascinated by how people do interaction. How is it that I can talk to someone and they understand what I mean, or they try to? How do we ask questions? How do we do kinds of clarification? How does this work across languages? And really a lot of these questions about what does it mean to do being human? And I've eventually taken that in my career to what does it mean to do being human with a bunch of virtual agents, which we'll dig into. But a lot of what started my original path to this ultimate career is that question of what does it mean when we're doing interaction and speaking with each other? So that started me off on a path in linguistics. I ended up getting a PhD in linguistics from the University of Colorado, Boulder, specifically because of the training in all of those questions that I was posing there. I was trained in a method called conversation analysis, both a theory and a method, which I know we're excited to chat about and get into. But all of that linguistics and CA training, eventually I started thinking, okay, this is fascinating how we do this on a human to human basis. Throughout my journey in graduate school, I kept seeing come up time and time again, and new opportunities come in the tech space, and looking at these kinds of applications, not just talking to humans, but talking to machines. And increasingly in our everyday lives, we do a lot of talking to machines and to bots and to virtual agents and other kinds of agentic AI applications. I wanted to know, well, how does that work? And how can we make it work better? And that started me down the path of taking that application into the field and ended up where I am today. I'm a conversational architect at 66 Degrees, is a Google consulting partner. So folks have ideas and things they would like to automate, agents they would like to build. They come to us and we figure out how to make that happen. Everywhere from the initial design and scoping, or things that I do on the pre-sales side and what we want this system to do and what we want it to accomplish, to the technical build, to all of that, delivery management, to doing the actual work and the engineering, to going through the entire UAT process, to eventually deploying something out in the wild, which was always the most exciting part once you see real data, real people interacting with the system that you built.
Giving birth to new realities. I love it. And I also knew there was another reason I wanted to talk to you, because I've got about 20 ideas for agents that I want. Now I know you can build them. So brilliant. But I'm going to come back to conversational analysis. So this is something I'm excited to hear more about and hear your perspective on. So not everybody watching this may know that much about it. So what is it? Like, why is it important? Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, so linguistics, which I feel like more folks are have at least heard of or relatively familiar with, is studying the science of language. And conversation analysis specifically is a subfield that actually stems out of sociology, and it is basically how do humans do interaction? What are the members' methods for making sense of one another? And particularly, how do we understand social action through talk and interaction, or through gesture, or through other interactional functions? So the things that conversation analysts ask themselves of the data are not just kind of the what of what folks are saying, but what action are they trying to accomplish? What are the methods by which they accomplish that? How are they being taken by their interlocutors? And how are those turns and utterances being treated? And what does someone else do in that conversation? So the question we are always asking is, what is this person doing? What are we trying to achieve here? So at like a super high level, an example of an action, doing a greeting is a thing that humans seem to like to do. So this is agnostic to the language, to the time period, to things like gender and other social categories. The action category of greeting seems to be something that humans like doing. Then there are various features or ways of going about doing that greeting. So you can say in English and say hello. That comes out in dialect differences. So something like howdy, casual versus formal, other types of register differences, all of those different ways of doing a greeting do slightly different things in the conversation. You can obviously do it in different languages. You can do it non-verbally. So what a conversation analyst would look at is all of these various options, all these member methods to accomplish a certain social action. And then how is that action treated by the interlocutor? And that really informs my approach to virtual agents, to agentic AI, because that is something that you are trying to have action on language.
So this is where I get excited. So my background is in a lot of ethnography, right? And it's not conversational analysis, but you are watching similar things. You're watching what the interaction is, the language, the tone, the body language, how somebody is getting from A to B in a social setting in a way. How do you, in your work, start to apply that to agents? Like, how do you create those kind of nuances that we think about in human to human conversation without even thinking about them? How do you start to translate that?
So one of the most important things to do, and how I start a lot of the, well, really all projects, is one, if you have data, use it. Make use of data. Look at how people are actually interacting with your system that already exists, whether that's an existing IVR system that you're overhauling, if there's a bot already out in the wild and you have data on it. Like, one of the best things about this is we don't have to guess what people are going to say. They will tell us very readily. But then what I do in terms of the actual design and engineering of an agentic AI system is, what is the action that the user is trying to accomplish? So identifying that higher level action category is really key to making sure that the bot is doing something useful for the user. And then you can identify is, in maybe like an older NLU model, which I say older, there's space for NLU for sure in our current systems. That's how NLU models got really out of hand, is if you try and have some sort of an intent for like every possible way someone could say something, you need to extrapolate it to that higher level action category. And even though we've moved on for the most part from NLU models for the bulk of agents, rightly so, with other technologies that are available, that thought process of what is the action that a user is going to accomplish at every single turn in the conversation is really where I start to flush out what the build is going to look like, especially as LLMs can get a little black boxy for folks, and can start, if you don't have a good handle on them, it's hard to kind of predict that output. Again, we don't have to make guesses at what's going to happen. We can decide these are the action categories in like a more of a flowchart kind of style of something that a user is going to be able to accomplish. And then you can drill down, all right, this is what they'll likely say, or this is the language, or these are the other kind of more nuances. But starting with what is the action category that you're going to accomplish is the most important thing.
So if I were to ask you, is there something at the moment that you are particularly interested in, or a challenge that we're facing, exciting development? What's your focal point at the moment?
agenticAI for sure, which, some folks have wondered, was it just a new buzzword? Is it just, the new hot topic? What does it actually mean? Lots of people are trying to define, what does agentic AI actually mean? It's an agent that can do something for the user. And that again comes back to having defined both in your use case as well as the action category of what you're trying to accomplish. So I expect an agent to be able to take action on my behalf. Is it booking a flight for me? Is it looking up a reservation time? Is it providing an answer to my question? Like, what are those action categories that the bot is in theory supposed to be able to accomplish? Because if you have a clear understanding of that, and in your use case, what your KPIs are, how you're measuring performance, all of the good things that you want in a really solid build. So it's very exciting that not just our field, but a lot of like the world at large, it feels like, has really latched on to this idea of agentic AI. So it's both exciting and a challenge to be concrete in what does it mean to be agentic. And for me, the system has to be able to take some kind of autonomous decision-making step on behalf of the user.
I've been reading a lot of stuff about privacy recently as well, and how this plays out once we hand over agency.
From your ethnographic background too, what I come back to with agency, and I share this a lot with folks and on the client side when they ask, well, what does that mean to be agentic? I always go back to Laura Ahern's definition of agency is the socially mediated capacity to act. Socially mediated, All right, the bot's doing something, the engineers behind it are doing something. Capacity to act. What's the capacity? What's the action that they're taking?
And I'm so here for it. There are so many things I would like to outsource in my life that I hope one day that will do efficiently for me, because I don't do them efficiently myself. We were talking before and you were saying something about beyond RAG.
So when we're thinking about state of the field and where we're at, I mean, RAG is pretty commonplace, right? And it's not a particularly huge lift to spin up a QA bot, ingest these websites, be able to answer questions about it. Great. What else are we doing with that information? Because when you think about the user journey and folks who are interacting with our agents, generally, for the most part, this idea of like an AI therapist, the other use cases kind of accepted, but for the most part, folks are not coming to just have a chat. They are looking for something to accomplish and make happen. So if you go to a bot with an airline and the user is asking questions about a booking policy or luggage policy or something like that, it's one thing to spit back a nicely generated answer from a few policy documents, fine. But most likely, if you think about the action that the user is actually trying to take, it might be to add luggage to their existing reservation, if that's the question they're asking about. So to be able to think through what those actions someone's going to take and then provide that opportunity to do so gets us out of, okay, you had a nice QA sequence, which are super important, are basically foundational to everything. I do not want Manny Shegloff, to be rolling over in his grave when I talk about QA sequences like that. They're super, super foundational. And then thinking, what are we actually doing with that answer? And what is the user trying to accomplish for their reason that they came to the bot in the first place?
I ask everyone this question because I always get such interesting answers. If someone was starting out in this field today, what's the advice that you give to them?
Don't be afraid of the data. Learn to work with data as well. That is the fastest and easiest way to understand these systems better from the user's perspective, is look at the actual data. We do not have to guess about what people are trying to accomplish. They will tell us very readily and very apparently. And I would also think about what your unique skill set is to this field. So one of the great things about this field of conversational AI engineering, conversation design more broadly, is you can approach it from a lot of different perspectives. So think about, what is your unique skill set? Are you a trained software engineer who's breaking into it from that side? Are you coming from a more, design background and you're beefing up those engineering skills? Are you, like me, a highly trained, very theoretical, technical academic, and you're learning how to do the nuts and bolts of the actual implementation with limitations of things like, budgets and stakeholders and all of those good things of the business side of the operation. So think about what your unique skill set is and why that's going to be an asset to the team that you're working on.
Thank you so much. We are thrilled to have you as part of the Conversation Design Institute. Really appreciate it.